Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, this is my YouTube channel, Sherelle Thinks, where I talk about all things health anxiety related. And in this video, I specifically want to talk about how anxiety can create heart related symptoms. A lot of people have cardiophobia. For a lot of people, the heart is the thing that they worry about the most. And interestingly for me, I didn't worry about my heart for a long time. For me, it was always cancer and ALS. Those were like my big ones. And so I never really worried about my heart. And I was still having symptoms. So I would have palpitations and chest pain. But because I've had those symptoms for like such a long time, I was kind of weirdly, because I wasn't able to do that with anything else, but I was quite able to just kind of shove those aside and just say like, oh, we know that's anxiety. But I was thrown into the world of health anxiety kind of by accident. And I'm going to cut a really long story short. But basically, I was in hospital for another reason. And whilst I was there, they did an ECG because my heart rate was so high. And I had a very abnormal ECG. And something very scary came up on that ECG, which turned out to not be the case. The cardiologist came down and hand measured the thing that they were worried about, and I also then went to go and see a private electrophysiologist, and it was all fine. But because even though it turned out to be okay, it just plunged me into this absolute terror of being completely convinced that there's something awful wrong with my heart. And so I then began to have the most intense symptoms. Like, I had palpitations before, and I used to kind of like feel like a flutter in my throat, but now I was having like bang, 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 bang. Like it was so different to what I'd experienced before. I was getting like full blown left arm pain. Like, I mean, like from the tip of my shoulder down like to my arm. It was like so painful. I would get jaw pain. I would get dizziness. Like honestly, any like heart symptom, I had it. I was also getting like the sensation of ectopic beats. And I remember I got to a point where I was like, something's terribly wrong. Took myself to A&E a couple more times. Nothing really came up apart from inverted T waves and things like that. But I was so convinced. And so I ended up having a Holter monitor. It was funny because when I had the Holter monitor on, my anxiety was like ridiculously bad. And I kept like, they give you like a little diary so that when you experience a symptom, you can write that down the time. And I was writing down in it so much that I went through all of the lines. There was no more space for me to write any more like events. And when it was actually checked, the electrophysiologist was like, none of the things that you wrote down coincided with something going wrong with your heart. Like it was all very normal still. But even then, I still couldn't let it go because it was like these symptoms were so intense. But I think what we have to remember is that anxiety massively affects the heart. And now I don't say that in a way of that, I don't necessarily think that every person who is anxious is going to drop dead of a heart attack from anxiety alone. But what I mean is that the heart, it's our main, how to explain what I'm trying to say? When we think of every being on this planet, not just a human being, but whether it's a squirrel or a wolf or whatever, what happens is when we get in that fight or flight mode, stress hormones are released, and our body, our heart will start pumping out more blood because it's ready to fight. It's ready to like run for its life, which is why people get like additional symptoms. They get like tingling in their fingertips and their feet because the blood is rushing there. Our eyes will dilate, like our blood vessels they're all dilating, and it's because of the heart. Like the heart is like the centerpiece here that is like causing all of these other symptoms to happen, and it's doing it because the body really believes it's in danger. So of course people are going to have heart palpitations. Their heart is going to race. When you watch a horror movie, your heart might race, or whatever it is that we find scary, our heart will race because we're in panic mode. And because of that, then when your heart is racing, it's like bang, 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 bang in your chest, you're going to get chest pain. And then And then because we have health anxiety and we know the symptoms of a heart attack, we'll then start to experience pain in our left arm because we're literally directing our energy there. And I would also get jaw pain, and I would get nauseous, and I'd get dizziness. But it's that thing with health anxiety that once we know the symptoms of something, we will get those symptoms. I've done it with many things, whether it's pancreatic cancer, ALS, heart problems, sepsis, wherever the thing is, I've been able to manifest the symptoms without not even doing it consciously. So whilst I understand that heart anxiety is terrifying because the heart is very important and it can stop just like that, and that's a terrifying thought. It's really, it's one that we don't want to mess around with. We don't want to mess around with the heart. We want to make sure that we're healthy. But I think it's also important to remember that how anxiety affects the heart. And so we have to keep that in mind as well, that we have an anxiety disorder, and that's something that we actually do have. Because most of us, we go around being convinced of a heart problem, but we've had a clean ECG, we've had a clean echo, our stress test was fine, our Holter monitor was fine, yet we've been given a diagnosis of anxiety, but we still think there's a problem with the heart. And we're kind of like, we're just like pushing the anxiety away as if that's not a real problem. And it's like, when you Google symptoms of anxiety, what will you see? Well, some of the first things that will come up is a racing heart, chest pain. So we know it's well established that anxiety can cause heart-related symptoms. This goes back a long time. So we have to remember that in those moments of complete terror and panic where, we're convinced that we're having a heart attack, and I know it's scary. And I can't tell you the amount of times that I've gone to A&E genuinely believing that I'm having a full-blown heart attack, and it's been a panic attack, or it's been just really intense anxiety. So we have to just remember that there is an issue that we actually do need to deal with, and that's the anxiety. And when we reduce our anxiety symptoms and we work on our anxiety, those heart-related symptoms will reduce, but it'll take time, because sometimes I feel that we can feel better mentally, but physically we're still tensed for a long time because the body's kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to let go just yet. So we have to allow our body to calm down, but we got to calm the mind first. The body and the symptoms always follow second. At least that's been my experience anyway. But I know that many people with health anxiety worry about their heart. And I imagine that most of us at some point have gone to the hospital, convinced that we're having a heart attack. So my heart goes out to you, excuse the pun. It really does, because I know how it feels, and I know how terrifying it is when you think that you could just drop dead at any moment. Like, that is awful, and nobody wants to live that way. And it made me feel depressed. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to exercise. I didn't want to go out on my own, because I just felt like, well, what if I drop dead in the street and nobody can help me? Nobody's around to call an ambulance. Or what if I'm exercising and I collapse? So it just stopped me from living, really. It stopped me from doing all of the things that I wanted to do, which is horrible, because I wasn't living my life. I was just consumed by a problem that wasn't there. So I hope this video was relatable, comforting, whatever. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and please feel free to write a comment down below. Tell me your experience. Tell me about your symptoms and how your heart-related anxiety manifests. In the description of the video, if you want to work with me on a one-to-one basis, you can join my Patreon. All of my social medias will be listed there as well, and you can join my free Facebook support page as well if you're looking for a place to vent and meet like-minded individuals. But take care, guys, and I will see you all soon. Bye.